Hi there and welcome back to FM8tutorials.com. For this month's tutorials we're going to be looking at making glitch hop sounds using FM8. Starting today we're going to be making this sound. I actually got the idea for this bass sound from the Nosaj Thing remix of the XX called Islands, which goes like this.
That bridge is on fire, that's the way
Okay, so let's get FM8 and let's create a new sound and start programming this sound, starting with the operators here. So we're going to be using all of the operators, so let's turn them all on, and we're also going to be using operator Z, which is the filter. So take the router of F from the output and route that to Z, and then route Z to the output, all at 100. And let's program these waveforms and whatnot over here first. So for F we're going to have 0.5 for the ratio, the offset's going to be 0.19. I'm going to keep it as a sine wave, and that's it. And then for operator E, turn that on. I'm only going to turn that up to 69 here. It's going to be a little bit quieter. And the ratio is going to be 2.4990, and going to have an offset of minus 0.20. It's going to be a sine wave again, and turn on. We've already turned on operator D, but route that to the filter at 100 full volume. This is going to be detuned slightly from a ratio of 2 to 1.9982 or 3. That'll be fine. And going to have a little offset here of 0.25. All these kind of like slight detuning on the ratio and the offsets just going to help thicken the sound, give it a bit of a chorusy edge. So C now is going to be 1.0018 and a ratio of minus 0.61. And for operator B, going to actually check all of these are staying as a sine. For operator B we're going to change this to a 1+2 just to give us a little bit of an extra richness on the sound here really. The ratio is 2.5051, and keep the offset at 0, and for A just detune that ever so slightly, 0.9988, offset stays at 0. So you should have something like this now. I've already got the automation which we'll come to later, and so we need to start routing some of these kind of operators and feeding them back and stuff to kind of give us a sort of a richer sound. So start with operator A and feed that back into itself. I'm also going to feed it into B about 46, and I feed it into E as well, 61, and also going to feed it into F at 69. And for B, B is going to feed into D at about 40. It's also going to feed into operator F about 39, and operator C is going to feed into itself 42 or 41 thereabouts, and it's also going to feed into operator F at around the same amount, about 42. Operator D now is going to feed into itself 51, and yeah, it's already routing to the output there. And also operator E is going to feed into B 22, and it's also going to feed into C at 38. There. So it's a bit of a nicer tone to the sound now. There's a lot more we can do to it really. So let's go over to the master section here, And let's transpose the sound down by an octave, go to -12, and let's give it some more voices, give it 4 voices. Take the detune up to about 50, and just pan some of these voices out a little bit, not too much, about 46 there, and pull this analog slider right up to about 71. This will give us this kind of really rich sort of sound. This really transforms the sound now with what we've done in this master section. Need to make it mono as well actually, and turn the portamento on, take it off auto, and keep it round about here, maybe just notch it up to 38. So we're just getting a nice glide with the notes there. So the next thing we could look at really is maybe the envelopes. Okay, so for envelope A, you've got something like this kind of shape really. Just dragging out the decay and the sustain and just giving the sound a little bit of a release. Like so. And envelope B, slightly different really. This is just going to make it a little bit quieter. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the attack right off and just give it a shape a little bit like that, so it's just sort of creeps in. Operator B does, kind of creeps into the sound. Turn that off. Okay, and next up, operator C, similar to A really, but slightly different. We're just going to pull the sustain and the decay level down a little bit here. Maybe just give it a little bit of release as well so it doesn't clip on the out. Okay, and operators D, E and F can link together. We want the same envelope for these 3 operators, and something along these lines where we just pull in the attack and decay and sustain right down, maybe just pull in the release out a little bit. Okay, so next we can start programming the filter. So what we can do here is pull the cutoff down to about 4, pull the resonance down to about 19, take the spread of filter 2 up to 100, pull the resonance of filter 2 down to 0. Keep both filters in low pass mode, but just pull the mode of filter 1 up to about 6, so we've just got a little bit more of kind of, as you move it up it becomes more of a sort of band pass filter and then a high pass filter, so it's just off a low pass really here, about 6. When the envelope amount to go up to 100, and then we want the envelope shape to change quite drastically here and have it to quite similar to what we programmed for the DE, is it the DE and F envelopes? No, sorry, the B envelope that we had there. Okay, so just quite the attack backed right off and just a really sort of small amount of decay and sustain. So it's only letting a little bit of the kind of higher sort of frequencies through, which is what I kind of heard with that Nosaj Thing remix. The bass on that wasn't really very raspy at all, so you could obviously pull that filter cut off of filter 1 right up to get a bit more top end in the sound if you wanted to. Okay, so next up we can program some effects. You're going to have a tube amp, keep the volume around halfway and just push the drive up a tiny bit to 52. A shelving EQ just to take off some more of that top end, just so it's really just kind of a bassy sound, and take the volume of the shelving EQ up to about 93, just to push it a little bit further, just to increase the kind of overall volume of the sound. Okay, going to use a peak EQ as well to accentuate some of the kind of bassier frequencies here, and also dip some more of the tops as well. So, and I'm actually going to increase the Q of the second peak we have here as well, just to widen the width of the frequency range that we're cutting out. Next up, I'm going to add a phaser. Keep the rate around 50. I want to sync it. Keep the notches in color the same as the default kind of state, and same for sweep min and max. Rotate stays at 0, dry wet stays at 50, and next up we have a sight delay. I'm going to take the time of this right down, so I don't want it to delay, I just want it to sort of chorus it a little bit. So put the sync on, take the feedback down to about 44, keep everything else the same apart from the dry wet. I'm going to pull right down to about 6. So it's quite subtle, but it's just helping to kind of warm the sound, thicken the sound a little bit further. Okay, so the final thing to program with this sound really is the modulation. So the modulation for this sound, what we've got is some vibrato, and we've got some kind of LFO on the filter. So I'm going to take that kind of that default state modulation off, and the LFO 1 is going to be modulating the pitch by around 14, 15, 14, and this is going to give us the vibrato effect. And I'm going to keep everything else the same. I'm not going to sync it or anything. I just quite like the sort of default state of this LFO here, really. Okay, and then what we want to do is set up this. I've already got the automation drawn in for this controller here. The LFO2 is controlling the filter, which is operator Z. So this is the automation that I had, which is just going to increase the LFO as the sort of riff goes on. But what we need to do is set the LFO2 here. So keep it on, sync it, move it to a sine wave, key sync it as well, so the LFO restarts with each new key that's pressed. Keep the rate at 50, take the delay, key scale and velocity scaling off, and okay, so there's our sound come together there, so let's have a listen to that in action. So it's a takeoff of the Nosaj Thing remix of the XX track, but also quite a useful sound to have there anyway for your own kind of manipulation and use. If you wanted to have a look at the MIDI notes for that bass line used, I've got the MIDI there. So yeah, that's it really. So thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Any questions, then get in touch, and hope to see you again soon. Okay, cheers, bye.